I'm delighted to be joined once again by NFL legend Shawne Merriman. We've got a massive fight coming up. Rampage Jackson, Rashad Evans, Lights Out Sports TV. And the last time we spoke, you told me wherever you go in the MMA world, you're constantly getting compared to Alistair Overeem. So let's look at the other hand, right? Who in the NFL would you compare Rampage Jackson and Rashad Evans to?
Oh, man, I would say that's like a Khalil Mack. That's a Khalil Mack and maybe Micah Parsons, man. Like it's one of those matchups because both of these guys, they're just such legends of the sport, right? Like when you start looking at the key names over the past, 15 years or so, you can't leave them out. I mean, they've had some of the best fights one-on-one and Rampage, man, he don't, he brings so much color and personality and so much energy to everything we're doing. And I partnered with the Influencer Crossover Series. So that's what this fight is. It's going to be a massive fight. Salt Poppy's on this card, Vargas Jr.'s on this card, Tavern Jr.'s on this card. They're trying to work on, Shane Mosley and some other guys being on this card. So Le'Veon Bell, by the way, Le'Veon Bell's on this card too. So I think this is a big step for Lights Out Sports TV, man, and what we're doing. The first part of that fight will be free live. Obviously, I got a free ad-supported, streaming service, and then it'll go to the pay-per-view model. So, based on this card and how stacked it is, I think it's about 12 or 13 total fights. They're going to do extremely well.
Yeah, it's a great card. I want to go through all the facts, but sticking with the main event for a second. Obviously, as you mentioned, these guys legends within the world of mixed martial arts, but boxing a completely different sport. What's your breakdown for this?
It's funny, man, because I know both of these guys well, and so
Mm.
they didn't even know that it was going to be on my platform with Lights Out Sports TV. So when they found out, everybody was extremely excited, obviously pushing it. But you know, these guys are still in shape. I actually trained with Rampage probably like about several months ago in Long Beach with Antonio McKee at his gym down there. So I know that Rampage can still get after it because he was sparring right there next to me. So I know what he looks like now. And Rashard, Rashard, man, is he's always kept his body in shape. Like he's still in shape looking around. I've never seen him since I've known him almost 10 years now that he's ever like let himself go, man. And so it's going to be tough. I don't want to. It's hard for me to pick because I know both of the guys, but I know that when they talked about doing this, they wanted to give the people a show. They had a podcast together. They said, "Hey, man, I think we should go put on a show for the people." And I think they're going to do exactly that.
Most certainly, most certainly. You touched on some of your training there with Rampage. I know you've done some work with Randy Couture. What's your favorite training story that you've had in MMA?
Probably the first day I met Randy. Jake Glazer from Fox Sports had saw me in his gym hitting mitts. And, I grew up boxing. My uncles were professional boxers. And so I grew up in just naturally boxing. And he walks up to me and he says, um, I want to, I think you should do MMA because I think it'll help you out in football. Right. And I said, okay, sure. Yeah, whatever. You text me an address. The next day I walked into the gym and Jay Glazer's on my left and Randy Couture is on my right. So in my head, I'm thinking that Jay is trying to get me to fight Randy Couture. And I'm looking back and forth at Jay and I said, listen, there's no way that I'm fighting Randy Couture today. So, but it's just, working with him, and he was still competing. I think he had still won a belt. He just won a belt at what 43, 40, 42 years old or something like that. So Randy was in peak condition. And this is when I found out that no matter what I did on the football field, no matter how many weights I left, it didn't matter. Randy was tossing my ass around left and right, pummeling, right? And I just couldn't understand like the leverage and just his skill set. And I'm not going to say it humbled me because I didn't walk in, thinking I was better than anybody, but I just saw how difficult the sport was. And then, we got on the ground and started doing a bunch of groundwork. Again, he's so skilled. I left the gym that day feeling defeated. I text Randy on my way back down to San Diego and said, "Hey, what time are you coming in the gym tomorrow? Because when I get done working out for the Chargers, I'm coming back up." And so that was really my introduction to MMA.
And it's great that you've had all these experiences in MMA, and I imagine the more you train, the better you've got at it. I know you've mentioned potentially a showdown with James Harrison. How do you reckon that one would go down?
Well, look, this is my whole thing. I don't mind our fighters for Lights Out Extreme Fight or any fighter in general. You promote a fight. With me, because I'm more behind the scenes always, and I'm the one actually putting everything together on this side of it. I try to stay away from calling guys out in public. But if guys like James Harrison and Ochocinco are going to be public about possibly fighting, I don't know if you saw that or not with Chad Ochocinco and James Harrison going back and forth. I said, okay, fine. I got somebody that really want to fight. So I'm thinking in my head, like, I think that'll be a great matchup. I think that people will love to see two badasses get in there and just get after it for a couple rounds. And so I put it out there. That's normally I never call anybody out. If I really, really want to match, which I have sent contracts to multiple people, former WWE guys, former football players. I sent one to a rugby player. Again, nobody responds, right? And so that's why I stay away from doing the social media call outs and stuff like that because I still train with a lot of these guys. I just trained up at Extreme Couture, a couple days. I'm in there a couple days a week. I'm at Top Rank out in Las Vegas. And I'm doing it to stay in shape. They got a heavyweight in there that they got a fight coming up and need somebody to move around without jumping in a heartbeat. I just love it. I love the sport. I always have. So that offer is still on the table. If James Harrison wanted to do it, I think it'd be massive.
Well, I'm excited for what the future holds for you, and hopefully we can get you in the cage at some point. But let's go back to this card for a second. You mentioned absolutely stacked. Diego Sanchez, a UFC
Yes.
legend, he's going to be on there.
Yeah, man. And this was so cool about this crossover series that they're really doing. You gotta have names on it that people know in the combat sports world. And this is why I think they did a great job with this. You got Rampage Jackson, Rashad Evans, and you got like Diego Sanchez. You have big names on it people are going to look at. There's some guys in this card that they may be building for the future, right? Rampage and Rashad they're not going to fight 4 or 5 times. They're not going to have 4 or 5 matches. And so everybody's going to tune in to watch them and Diego Sanchez and a couple of guys in this card but they have some ones that's up and coming that haven't Tapia, right? Tapia's on it. He's again, this card is completely stacked through and through. So I can't wait for April 12th.
Yeah, absolutely. You've obviously got these legends, you've got people up and comers, and then you've got somebody like Brian Mendoza who's fought for a world title against Tim Tszyu, who's won 2 interim titles. He's going to be a massive addition to this card.
No doubt, no doubt. And Mendoza, he's a scary dude, man. He really is. And so you see the mix that's happening with this card. You got obviously legends that have been around for a long time, and you get all the way down to Salt Poppy, right? Who actually is a damn good fighter. Like he actually can go. And I'll tell you, man, before this whole influencer thing started in 2018 is 17, 18 is when Jake was doing it. I always thought it was going to open up the doors to do more, and that's why this influencer crossover series that they put together, they're going to have several fights on Lights Out Sports TV, and we have people reaching out, big names, big influencers, big former fighters that's trying to jump on these cards now.
And continuing to talk about Lights Out, I know that has got its next event on March 22nd, I believe. So can you tell me a
March
little bit about
22nd.
that?
Yeah, we got a banger, man. We got 12 fights in this card. Um, just some key notable names like Ashley Finer. Um, she's a badass dude. Like she's one of the ones I think may have a shot at the next level. I mean, if you look at her credentials, and she's a gold medalist, Muay Thai champ. Um, let's listen to this for a second. A national Muay Thai gold medalist, 9 total amateur title fights, 4 MMA including state title, 5 title MMA including state, national, world champ. Like it's I mean, her credentials is crazy, and so she's one of the ones that I hope that we can keep around for a long period of time, and we're actually going to try to sign her to a multi-fight deal after this point. Arnold Jimenez. So every fight that we put on now at this point, because of the quality of fighters that we're having, we always look at some of these guys who we think that can go to the next level. It's Arnold Jimenez. Arnold Jimenez, one of the ones I think if he has 1 or 2 more fights with us, he had a big finish. He had a big fight last fight. We brought him back in. He's one of the ones I think that if he does what he needs to do on March 22nd, maybe have 1 or 2 more fights with us, he'll be one going straight off to the UFC. Like he's at that level.
100%. It's great to see that you're providing this pathway towards the UFC and the top level of the sport. But now looking at the NFL, somebody who had a mixed season, Aaron Rodgers, one of the most famous football players on the planet. What did you make of his season, the Netflix documentary, and what's going to go on for him going forward?
So first of all, I mean, I came in with Aaron Rodgers, right? We came in at the same year. I think 2005. He was drafted later on in the first round. Um, Aaron is just like a different dude, right? Like he's just a different dude. And I watched the Netflix series. Me personally. I have no problem with it. I think actually he's so interesting that it's pretty cool for people to see another side of him, right? That he's not an asshole, or he's not a certain he's just a different guy. Now, him leaving the Jets, I didn't like that decision. And I don't know if they gave him, if the rumors were true. Basically, told him if he kept doing Pat McAfee show or if he kept doing Netflix series and all this other stuff, that they wasn't going to keep him there. And they gave him an option to stay if he doesn't do that. I think he's going to come back and have a better year this year than he did last. That Achilles injury that he had, it takes a full year to be healthy again, especially at his age. I tore my Achilles. And for about 9 months, I was running and doing everything, but I was still thinking in the back of my head that I'm not healthy enough. Maybe I can pop it again if I put too much pressure or turn the wrong way. So he never had a decent offseason to work out. So I believe wherever he goes, I think the Rams are up in the mix and a couple other teams. Wherever he decides to go, I think he's going to have a better year this year than he did last.
I mean, yeah, you touched on the Rams there, and with Cooper Kupp and Matthew Stafford potentially leaving, do you think the Chargers could be the best team in LA?
Oh yeah, no doubt, absolutely. And Cooper Kupp, man, still getting it done, and the Chargers need a wide receiver. I know that they've been talking about Devontae Adams. I know they are waiting to see what happened with T. Higgins because T. Higgins from Cincinnati Bengals would be a big one if they can get that. So, but you get a vet, you add a vet like Cooper Kupp into that lineup with the Chargers, man, with Justin Herbert and those other guys, they can do some damage.
Absolutely. And we know you love MA. We know that you love football, but possibly your biggest passion in the world is making fun of the Raiders. But who do you think is the right quarterback for them next season?
If I was the Raiders, now I'll put on my non-biased hat for a minute because I love talking shit about them. Um, I would go after and get, like a Sam Darnold. I would go after and get a vet, and I would still draft no matter what. I would go bring in a vet who can go there and get on the field right now and get accustomed to that offense. And I would be working with a rookie behind the scenes to take his place. If not a full year, at least halfway during the season, if whoever the starter is. So I think they did a great job by Pete Carroll, bringing Pete Carroll in, a big name, because in that AFC West division to compete, you have to bring in quality coaches, right? With Sean Payton there, Jim Harbaugh there, like you have to be able to, Andy Reid. If you don't bring in a big coach that has experience at winning Super Bowls or at least winning in general, you have no shot in that division. So I think they were smart by bringing Pete in
Absolutely. And it was an interesting season, all in all. What do you think was the biggest surprise throughout the campaign
for the season.
for the season?
I think probably the Commanders. I think the Commanders were the biggest surprise. I mean, we talk about Jaden Daniels and how good he is, and which he's really good. I didn't see them beating the Lions. I didn't like no shot. I thought they were going to get smoked, and I was wrong. And whether people want to say that because the Lions were banged up, injuries, missing a lot of guys, call it whatever you want. But I did not see that happening. And Jaden, again, they if the Commanders go out and get somebody like a Myles Garrett this offseason, that can instantly put these guys in back into contention.
Absolutely. Shawne, thank you so much for giving me some time once again. I really appreciate talking all things Rampage and Rashad, some of your training with Randy Couture. It's great stuff. But before I let you go, is there anything else that you'd like to mention?
Yeah. Just make sure you guys download Lights Out Sports TV. We got the Rampage Jackson, Rashad Evans, big undercard with the Influencer Series, crossover series, April 12th. And then March 22nd, man, we got an absolute banger. I think that we got a couple guys in this card. And girls, Ashley. I think that she has a real shot at going to the next level, which is the UFC, man. So make sure you guys tune in March 22nd for a Lights Out Extreme Fighting.